Hey all, so say you've decided to give up on all the modern conveniences of a semi-automatic magazine-fed handgun for carry and instead went with the big iron, the revolver, the wheel gun. Today we're going to talk about all the different ways to reload it. Now, if you like this content, like, sub, shares, all that good stuff, I really appreciate it. Also down below, coupon codes and merch to help support the channel. So today's video, I'm going to primarily use my Colt King Cobra 3-inch. Reason I'm using that is because after about a 2-month hunt, I finally found the snap caps for it, and I have the widest arrangement of different loading devices here for 357-38 Special. Otherwise, I would love to use what I'm carrying today, which is my 3-inch 629. But unfortunately, there's a couple loading methods that I do not have the loaders for 44. So we're going to go with this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show different methods. I'm going to talk about different equipment here that's all on the table for reloading, their pros, their cons. For instance, speed loaders I'm going to talk about in a little bit. You know, there's probably like 10 different prominent brands out there. I'm just going to talk about what I have on the table. I will do a video in the future talking about different speed loader brands and different brands of different stuff. So let's start with the simplest and probably cheapest method for reloading a revolver, and that is the speed strip. So these are Bianchi, and basically they come in different sizes. I got the 6-shot one. I believe they make up to an 8-shot one to accommodate some of the modern 8-shot 357 Magnums. But it is a very simple thing. All the different brands are basically the same, where it's just a rubber strip that the rounds seat into. How you use them is, right, you just take your snap caps, right, I have here, you would use live ammunition, which for those wondering, all the scratches on my hand is from a puppy that has puppy teeth, right, and you just kind of pop them in and they kind of snap in like so, and very easy to use, very simple to use. Not the fastest to load or load into a gun, but very simple in the fact that these are flat. So what you would do, you open your revolver is empty, right? You'll take your speed strip, you'll line up 2 holes, stick the rounds in, peel it off, 2 more, right? Peel it off, 2 more, and peel it off, and that's how you would load your gun. Now, is it the fastest? No. But a preloaded speed strip is definitely going to be quicker than thumbing the rounds in by hand, and also it keeps your rounds ready to go. For instance, if I just had a pile of rounds in my pocket, like so, or in a dump pouch, I'd have to fish them out, orient them the right way, and then get them into the gun, which can be difficult to do under stress. So, speed strip benefits, faster than doing it by hand, very cheap and inexpensive when it comes to cost of acquirement. And also, these are pretty universal. Meaning if you have a 38 Special 357 Magnum revolver, you're going to be able to, especially if you get one of the 8-shot versions of these, you can load an 8-shot, a 7-shot, a 6-shot, and a 5-shot, all with one speed strip. Next, we're going to talk about the Revolvo mag. Now, this is a new take on an old idea that basically was when people used to carry, you know, say you were carrying a single action 45 ACP revolver, you could have a 1911 mag loaded, ready to go, and that would be the quickest way to reload the gun, was just to sit there and, you know, push the rounds out of the magazine into the loading gate, you know, into the cylinder. Right, so this works for 357, 38 Special, and I believe 327 Magnum. I, of course, have 38 snap caps, and we're using it for my King Cobras. Now, first I'll show loading and unloading it, and then I'll talk about the pros and cons. So, how this works is basically you squeeze these tabs, that lowers the follower. So, to load it, I would squeeze the tabs, lower the follower, push a round in, right, push it all the way back, squeeze the tabs again to drag the round down, push another round in, right, let it go, squeeze it, push it back. And I did a more in-depth video showing how to load this. This is just doing this quick on camera, right? So once you get it all loaded, then the nice thing about this is it's basically ready to go. So because of the pocket clip and everything on it, there we go, you can just slip this into a pocket. But now that it's loaded, I'll show unloading it. So to load your gun, again, empty gun, you would take your Revolvo mag, and this is going to be awkward to do on camera. I've done it faster off camera, but to get at this angle, it might look a little bit awkward. But you just want to, you have a round sticking out here, So what you would do is basically insert the round into the chamber, squeeze the tabs, you would release the round, then when you release the tabs, it'll push the next round, right? And it goes just like that. And again, this is a little bit slower because I'm doing it on camera. I'm actually watching this through the camera, right? And there you go. That's how you would reload your revolver. So the pros and cons of the Revolver mag, and at the end, this is something I did a full review on. You are still loading one round at a time, but this is a little more durable than a speed strip. Speed strips can sometimes, it's very rare, but usually when they're getting old and wore out, they can drop rounds. But again, that's usually because they're old and wore out. Whereas this, the rounds are a little more protected from lint and oils and everything, you know, riding in a pocket. This comes pre-set up with a pocket clip, which is nice, so you can hook this onto a pocket or however you might like having that set up, versus the speed strip, which they do make things, and they're kind of expensive, that you can hook onto the end of a speed strip so it's hooked on your pocket, but this comes pre with it. Otherwise, with this, you're just fishing it out of your pocket, which can, again, you know, in that gunfight that you need a reload, could be a problem because, you know, you're rooting around in your pocket trying to get a speed strip out of your pocket, which of course is something you don't want to be doing, right? Where this with the pocket clip that is reversible, you're able to pull it out and it's basically ready to go. Pretty much the cons of this are, until you get the hang of it, it can be a little bit finicky to learn. Once you learn it, it's plenty simple to do. But, you know, definitely, like most things, it's something that needs to be practiced. And the benefit, of course, is over like a speed loader that would be a little bit quicker, is this is going to be flatter, easier to conceal, and easier to carry, where you're not worrying about, you know, like a speed loader or something that's basically like having a little rock in your pocket or a pouch on your belt that could bulge out. So that is the Revolver mag speed loader. That is a second option out there for reloading your revolver. The final option is probably the most common you'll see in modern times, and that is the speed loader. Now I have an assortment here: HKS, 5-star, the new Packmeyers that you know, are kind of iffy until you oil them and get them broken in and all that. And yeah, I did a review on them. It doesn't matter. I wouldn't recommend them unless you're looking for a project. So to load the speed loader, we're going to use this 5-star here. You just take your rounds and insert them into your speed loader like so. And then when they're all inserted, most of them, you turn a knob. And once you turn the knob, you turn it the wrong way and you drop one. Okay, so once you have all your rounds in, you would then turn your knob the right way to lock them in. And that is actually something I'll talk about with speed loaders. Is of all the different speed loaders out there, a lot of them work kind of the same way, but not identical. And that's definitely something to keep in mind when you look at different brands is, you know, especially the ones with the turn knob, is some turn a different way. You know, these Packmeyers and these HKS turn a different way, you know, 5-star. You know, again, usually it's left or right. Some are button push and all that, but something to keep in mind. So once you've got your speed loader loaded, right, that's pretty much it. And you're able to, you know, put this in a pocket, put it in a pouch, whatever you might do. And when it comes time to reload your revolver, you would take your speed loader, right, have your revolver opened up, and stick it in like so, turn the knob, and it releases all your rounds at once, and you're ready to go again. So that is how most speed loaders work. Again, there's a bunch of different speed loaders out there. I'm just showing you different options, so I'm not going to go in crazy. I will do a full video talking about all the different speed loaders out there. Pros of a speed loader are, well, there's pretty much one big pro, and that is this is going to be the fastest way, and no, I'm not going to talk about moon clips today because that's for specific guns. This is going to be the fastest way to reload your revolver, is having all your rounds go in all at once, release all at once, and you're back in action. That is a very big pro. Unfortunately, the list of cons, while I don't know if they outweigh them, and personally I don't think they do, but the need to be said, the list of cons is quite large. So this speed loader, right, you'll notice I have this 5-star. This is one of the only 5-stars I own. And the reason I own this is because both when I had my Kimber K6S and my now Colt King Cobra, I ran into issues with speed loaders fitting, right? A standard HKS Detective Special speed loader, while it says it should work, especially depending upon the grips you have, it doesn't work the best. They can bind up, they can get stuck, and if that happens, you could basically have I would say a catastrophic failure to reload, in the sense that you could have a speed loader jammed in here, not be able to get the rounds out, not be able to pull the speed loader away, and you could basically have a brick in your hand instead of a gun. Obviously, there's many different brands, and usually if you can shop around, you can test out speed loaders, and most of them, fortunately, aren't terribly expensive. Most speed loaders are going to be under $40, and there's a lot under $30. Still not, cheap, but hey, at least it's not, a $60 magazine. But you probably, with some guns, going to be buying several to try and figure out what fits with your gun. And unfortunately, the smaller the gun, the more chances you're going to have of speed loaders not working because the spots are smaller, the tolerances are smaller. For instance, look at this King Cobra. And again, these are very small, thin grips, and I still have issues getting them to work with a lot of different speed loaders. But, if I hold this straight on, you can see, like even there, the grip, the cylinder is being blocked by the grip. Right now, there's this space and it does slide in, but this and the Pachmeyer are actually the only speed loaders that I can get to work with this gun without modification. I have an HKS that works with this gun, but that's after sitting there with a Dremel and grinding off probably at least 30% of the material around the speed loader. The other thing is, more often than not, even if you have a 6-shot 357, right, you're going to need different speed loaders. Say you get one that works with this, right? You get this, very thin, slim little speed loader that works with the King Cobra, right? You might think, okay, cool, I'll use that for my bigger guns. You're not going to be able to, because the dimensions of this won't line up with your bigger gun. So for instance, I had a Ruger GP100 that wouldn't work with this because it wasn't big enough. Even though it fit with this, it won't fit with the bigger gun. So while speed loaders are the fastest option out there when they work, getting them to work, getting a speed loader that works for your gun, it can be very difficult and it can be very time consuming, and some people just want the ability to have something they know it's going to work. They don't have to fiddle with it, they don't have to test with it, they don't have to modify it. So that's where options like the Speed Strip and the Revolver Mag come into play as being really good options, because this is semi-universal, this is semi-universal. Speed loaders, unfortunately, are very specific to their guns and gun sizes. Now, I realize I just kind of stood here and boo-hooed the speed loader, but at the end of the day, I gotta say, my preferred option is a speed loader because it's the quickest. But that's because I took the time and I've tested out speed loaders for different stuff, and I have a wide variety of revolvers and I know what works with what gun. So at the end of the day, it really is personal preference. There's a bunch of different options out there. I'm sure there's some options, smaller known options, that I haven't covered. I covered, for me, basically the two main things are speed strips and speed loaders, and then stuff like the Revolver Mag is kind of a newer take on an old idea that's kind of catching on. So that's why I wanted to include it, because it's a cool option and it's definitely something that you should look at if you're looking for that kind of method to reload a revolver. I see a lot of people that have like a little 5-shot J-frame in one of these. But put down below, how do you reload your revolver? What method do you prefer? And what tips can you give to people looking to find a method to reload their revolver? But put down below what you think, and have a good day.